Hi Capricorn, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your September 2026 tarot reading. Thanks to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12-card spread with each card representing a different house of the zodiac, starting with your sign, Capricorn, as the first house, all the way through to Sagittarius representing the 12th. When we get through that, we'll also pull an oracle card for some additional insight. As far as the decks being used this month, for the main tarot deck, we have the Brady Tarot, and for the Oracle deck, we'll be using the Wisdom of the Oracle. But we're actually going to start the reading off our roll notes astrology as we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, so we have 3, and third house energy for you guys is actually Pisces. And even though this is a reading for September, at the time we're recording this, we haven't had that full moon eclipse in Pisces yet, so it definitely makes sense to see this come up in that regard. But yeah, third house in general points to communication, short journeys, and siblings. All right, we have Venus. So Venus is currently in Libra, which is your 10th house, and right at the end of August, it'll start a pre-retrograde shadow. And then on the 10th of September, it'll move into Scorpio. So it'll be moving for your 10th house of career and social status into your 11th house of friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes. And we have Sagittarius. So for you guys, Sagittarius is actually your 12th house of mental health, blind spots, and spirituality. Astrologically speaking, that area of the zodiac's pretty quiet right now, but could just be saying that could be, your inner world could be a little bit more prominent this month. So keep all that in mind as we go through the main spreads. So for your first house, which points to personality, self-awareness, and appearance, we have the moon. So looking at this energy here, usually when I see the moon come up, I do think of the main lunar cycles at play. So we were just talking about right when we saw the third house with the dice that there's about to be that full moon eclipse right at the very end of August in your house of communication. After that, the next thing would be a new moon in Virgo on the 10th of September. And for you guys, Virgo's your 9th house. So that could be around your philosophy, higher learning, foreign affairs. And then toward the very end of September, we'll have a full moon in Aries, which is your 4th house of home roots, family, and I do see something that connects with that with your tarot as well. But beyond that, this could just be saying that you might feel in some ways you're not seeing things as clearly as you normally would have, and if that's the case, I feel like this is saying, you might be called to tap into your intuition a little bit more to help you actually make sense of what's going on around you. So for your second house of possession, self-worth, and finances, we have the Devil. So this is actually the major arcana card for your sign. So to me, this is, at least when it comes to your finances, right, and your self-worth, as we mentioned as well, it feels like this is saying that you're going to be in a strong position there, right? You're going to feel like you're at home in this area of life. There's going to be a comfort and familiarity with the decisions you're making there. So that's definitely a positive to see in that regard. On a more negative side, of course, it could just be saying that maybe you're a little bit too heavily focused on that area of life, but for the majority of you, I feel like it's more of that first part of the equation. All right, so for your third house, which we saw with the dice, we have Truth. So seeing this, between this and seeing the moon representing your first house, this reading, I feel like that full moon eclipse we were talking about in Pisces could definitely bring some strong insight your way around some situations. So if you feel like you're lacking clarity now, I feel like that might actually help you for the most part. Now, usually this is the equivalent to the Ace of Swords, by the way. So to see this here, to me, points to one of those situations where you may not outwardly express what you find out, but at the very least, I feel like you're going to take that information in. So, ace energies do require action to go beyond the thought, but I feel like this is saying at the very least the thought will come to you and you have that clarity. So for your 4th house, which points to home, roots, and family, we have Departure. So this is actually the 8 of Horns in this deck, or usually it's the 8 of Cups, and that's a Pisces energy. So seeing this here could just be saying that for some of you might actually want to move altogether. Now, if that were the case, I'd see that maybe being closer to the Aries full moon that we talked about that we'll have toward the end of September. But yeah, for some of you, maybe that's the clarity you get during that full moon eclipse in Pisces, right? Which is to say that you might feel like, okay, maybe I feel like I need to relocate, right? Now, there could be some disappointment around that for some of you, but you might just feel a little bit more firm that that might ultimately be what you need to do. Or for some of you, this could even just be leaving some connections behind from people that might have, for some of you, to a lesser extent, maybe actual family, but maybe more so people who felt like family, right? Maybe because you felt like you were growing apart from them, whatever the case may be. All right, so your fifth house energy, which points to romance, creativity, and children, we have temperance. So this is actually Sagittarius energy here, which we technically saw with the dice too. Now, I will say this is a good connection to see as far as given that Sagittarius is your natural 12th house, and we see this here in the 5th house. So 12th house, 5th house could both have connections to creativity. So seeing this here to me says more than anything that some ideas you might have had behind the scenes for a while, right? Just thoughts that kept coming to you. This could just be saying you might be closer to bringing those into fruition and reality to where, you could actually benefit from them. So if there's a creative project, for example, we've been thinking about launching for a long time, I feel like this is saying you could finally get to that point now to where you do go through with it. And if that's the case, looks like there could be some success there. All right, so for your sixth house of health, work, and daily routines, we have the lovers. So this is a Gemini energy here. So yeah, so especially if this is in some way related to work, right? To me, this says that you could find a good partnership as far as that goes, where you could feel like you have a solid connection, where you bring something to the table, as does the other party, right? You might see each other as, even if not equals, but more of you complement each other well. That could be the primary energy that could be coming through there. Now, for some of you, this could also just be saying a lot of communication within the work environment as well, and maybe some big decisions being that need to be made. But if that's the case, again, I feel like it's saying that you still would come back to that point of balance too, to where you could get on the same page. In your seventh house energy, which points to partnerships, contracts, and relationships, we have the Four of Horns, which is typically the Four of Cups, and in this deck, it's referred to as apathy. So yeah, seeing this here could just be saying that maybe when it comes to your partnerships, so for some of you, of course, that could be a romantic relationship, but for others of you, maybe a business partnership, things along those lines. There, you just might feel like it doesn't seem to leave you feeling too inspired, right? So it's interesting as we talked about in the work environment. It looks like there's something where you will feel that meeting of the mind. So to me, this does make it a little more likely that this could be pointing more to a romantic type of relationship for some of you. But yeah, maybe you're just going through a bit of a lull. It doesn't necessarily have to mean doom and gloom for the connection. This isn't like a super harsh energy, but it could just be saying that at this time you might feel like you're not connecting well with your partner. All right, so for your eighth house, which points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Mother of Horns. So this is actually the equivalent of the Queen of Cups, which is Cancerian energy. So to see this here, it could just be saying that, especially if it's around investments, right? I feel like this is saying the key would be for you to actually invest in things that you actually believe in, right? That you actually have an emotional connection to, right? Some people, for example, just invest in things because like, oh, this looks like it would make money, right? But this could just be saying leaning more towards something that you actually have a connection to, right? Maybe products that you actually use, right? Or companies that actually are aligned with things that you believe in, things along those lines there. Just be saying that that could be a positive move for you guys this month. Or for some of you, if you've already done those things, right, it could just be saying that you might actually start to see some benefit from that. And if this is pointing more to, let's say, an intimacy situation, could just be saying to call for more openness there, right? Maybe a little bit more softness with each other. All right, so for your ninth house, which points to philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have the Father of Arrows. So this is actually an Aquarius energy here. So Aquarius, that type of the lightning quick thinking and stuff like that does seem like a good fit for an 9th house energy in that regard, but could just be saying that for some of you might be very firm on your beliefs, right? And even if you feel like you're the only one who holds those beliefs, right? So on the one hand, that could point to maybe others might view you as a bit stubborn around your beliefs, but at the same time, I feel like this is saying you have a comfort with feeling like you might be the only one in the room who believes a certain thing, but that's not necessarily going to shake your belief in that thing. All right, so for your 10th house of career and social status, we have the Five of Horns, which is Five of Cups in most decks, referred to as loss here. So yeah, so for some of you, this could just be saying that. So let's say, for example, if you're in a career path that requires a lot of making deals, right? So maybe this could just be saying for some of you, some deals might have fell through that you were hoping were going to come through and ultimately did not. Also, there could be some disappointment around that. And, if that's the case, as with most decks, they do point to the two sides of a coin dynamic with discard, right? To where, we see the focus on what spilled, but this is saying that there's others to come, so could just be saying that, yeah, there could be some disappointment around that, and naturally so, right? But I feel like this is saying, try not to get too caught up on it for too long because there's more to come. All right, so for your 11th house, which points to friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have the Fool. So yeah, so to see this here could just be saying that this seems to align with what I was seeing with the 4th house, right? Where I said for some of you, maybe you're just leaving some old connections behind. So maybe there's a history there, right? For example, with the 8, people who might have been hanging around every day for 8 years, right? But now you could be moving on. So maybe for some of you, you're changing careers, right? Maybe you're partnering up with someone and doing something a little bit more on the entrepreneurial side versus the more structured traditional career path, right? Whatever the case may be, you could just be saying that with these moves you might be making, if you do physically move from your current environment to another, right? Things along those lines there, it could just be saying that, yeah, you might find yourselves interacting with new groups as a result of that. And just getting that comfort and familiarity there. This can also just be saying that the groups you already deal with might actually help encourage you to be a bit more of a risk taker this month. And for your 12th house, which points to spirituality, blind spots, mental health, we have the Four of Feathers. So this is the equivalent of the Four of Wands in most decks, and it's referred to as optimism. So yeah, to me this says that yeah, even if there are energies that might seem a little bit challenging, right? Like I said, maybe some disappointment around a connection or leaving things behind, maybe some deals that fell through. To see this in the 12th house says that this is a strong indicator that through it all, you'll still remain optimistic, right? And that'll help you to be more prepared and ready to seize the good opportunities when they do come along. So yeah, I feel like even you realize already that even if it's a bit of a rough stretch, you know that there's not permanence to that, right? It's like, okay, you just ride through that wave and things will start to improve again. All right, and bottom of the deck, we have the Son of Roots. So this is the equivalent of the Knight of Pentacles, which is Virgo energy. So this could just be saying that, yeah, we're in that timeline, right? We're about to enter into Virgo season here, and plenty of energies moving through there to go along with it. So yeah, it could just be saying that maybe there's things growing beneath the surface, right? So they might not be moving at the pace you'd like, right? Maybe they're taking a little long to reach maturity, but I feel like this is saying that there's still going to be some signs that you'll feel comfortable that that is the case, though. All right, so lastly, we'll pull an oracle card and wrap the reading up with that. So I'm just going to give this a few shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. All right, take this card here, get this out of the way, and we'll see what you got. All right, we have co-create. There's the artwork, and the number is 40. So that's interesting, right? Because that makes me think of what I was saying with the Lovers card in the 6th house, where there might be someone where you feel like you complement each other well, right? So that could be connecting with this, but we'll see what it says. All right. Essential meanings says creativity, art, inspiration, fruition, manifestation. The Oracle's message: you may not consider yourself a creative person, but in fact you are creating your reality every moment of every day via your thoughts, feelings, beliefs, intentions, and actions. Yet you must consider that you do so in partnership with Spirit, consciousness, God, or whatever name you call your higher power. You are a spark of intelligence that works through you, nudging you with inspired thought and intuitive guidance. You are a paintbrush that co-creates a beautiful, unique expression of your own individuality blended with universal spirit. You are a product of divine inspiration, and now you're aligned with it to create miracles. When you view your life as art and know you co-created, only beauty and grace result. Prepare to be amazed. So, I mean, pretty strong message there to start with, right? But hopefully that does resonate with you. The relationship message says connections at art serve to inspire you, opening you up to new ideas you would have never come to on your own. You are looking in the mirror held up by this experience and seeing yourself in an unexpected way. Who is this extraordinary being looking back at you? You are going to be so happy that you kept the art open. Your love is a unique work of art now, the very embodiment of beauty. So yeah, so that's definitely an interesting message there, right? Because even though we do see an energy here of partnership and looking like there's disappointment there, right? For some of you, of course, yes, that could mean that maybe a romantic connection is in a rough spot right now. Whereas let's say if you're in fifth house energy, which is maybe not as structured of a relationship, but getting there might seem a little bit more positive for you guys. But again, like I said, even this, I felt like it didn't have to mean doom and gloom in a long-term thing. So maybe you guys could embrace that energy as well, even if you are in those deeper partnerships. All right. And the prosperity message says flashes of inspiration give rise to great success when you receive this message. You are at your most creative now, and whatever you apply yourself to will lead to the fruition of your dreams. Remember that all your ideas are channeled from a higher source. You create your reality in partnership with Spirit. The potential for manifestation is unlimited now. Revel in its vastness. So that would be a strong message there as well. And that could be pointing to the temperance card we see in the fifth house, which points to your creativity, maybe to an extent the truth energy we talked about as well, right? With that eclipse coming up in your third house, optimism in the 12th, right? So yeah, definitely an interesting read for sure, but hopefully that resonates with you guys and we'll wrap up there. All right, bye.